I have been waiting an eternity for a man of your strength to arrive.
Welcome to your life.
Hey friends, my name is Sir Medieval, and today we'll be talking about yet another Mount & Blade Bannerlord news segment. For this week, we'll be going into their last week's blog post relating to the combat particle effects, and the one posted this week for heat maps. And we're almost there, folks. I can feel it. They are definitely running out of things to talk about. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Beginning with the combat particles news post on the 21st of February, TaleWorlds begins as follows. Mount & Blade games have always had a primary focus on their core gameplay mechanics over the visual appearance of the game world. And while this is something that remains true for Bannerlord, we have worked extensively on improving the overall visual quality of the game with the aim of making the experience more immersive and enjoyable for players. In this week's blog post, we would like to talk about one of the improvements we're working on, which will help bring battles to life and will give players a real sense of gritty and brutal nature of warfare. Particle effects are one of the core components of our battle visuals and a technique we have employed to help add to the overall immersion in battles. A cloud of dust kicking up behind a cavalry charge or a splash of blood from a successfully landed blow really helps the player feel that they are in the thick of the action. So they go into a little bit of detail on how their combat particles fall into two separate categories, movement and attack. They say in each instance, the particle type is determined by two factors. For movement, it is the speed for which a unit is moving and the terrain they are moving across, whereas for attack, the particular type is determined by the type of weapon used and the surface the weapon hits. Modders will actually be able to add materials and collision particles alongside changing the values of already defined collisions for making a more custom experience. To give an example of how this all works in game, once an agent is hit by a cutting weapon, we spawn three different particles. First, a line-shaped particle is spawned in the direction of the cut. Secondly, a continuous emitter is attached to the hip position of the agent, which spawns blood particles for a short time. Sounds pretty gruesome when you explain it like that as well. And finally, the third particle is spawned as a weapon from the agent. With these effects, players are given clear visual indicators for successful attacks. In addition to this, particle instances can stick to environments and agents, leaving decal in their place. With these features in place, they say that once the battle is over, it will be very easy to distinguish which troops fought in the heat of battle and survived. Next up on the discussion is heat maps. It begins as follows. Bannerlord has many dynamic systems for maintaining most gameplay mechanisms. Horses are a case in point. They are produced in certain villages, so there is a steady supply being created each day. These are then purchased, or sometimes looted, by passing armies or carried to town markets to change hands. Horses are also regularly removed from the game when cavalry troops eventually die, or desperate parties slaughter them for food. However, these dynamics bring their own unique challenges. In order to help designers with this, their engine team added a nice little utility for creating heat maps. Heat maps are a visual representation of the paths and active areas that parties traverse, as well as the flow of goods around the campaign map. It may seem limited at first glance, however this is actually quite a powerful tool that allows them to identify issues with the AI behavior in addition to map balance and design. Every journey that the armies, parties, and caravans take can give us a variable insight as to what is happening in the game, as well as highlighting potential issues or ensuring TaleWorlds' design is working as intended. Here's an example regarding those resources. As you can see on the left side, we have flax that shows a large amount of it is held in the northwest section, as opposed to linen, which is spread more around the middle. For parties, they have different types of bandits, as we know, and for a different example, the steppe bandits are ones that stood out to them. When they mapped their movements, they saw that they were unable to penetrate into the interior of one of the territories. As they checked their paths and the areas they concentrated in, they started to get some clues as to what was happening. Bandits tend to prey on the weak, as is in their nature, and in regards to the steppe bandits, they ended up actively attempting to avoid the lords in this region, which is exactly what was wanted. In this example, however, the lords of those particular regions tend to have smaller parties capable of chasing down bandits, so it ended up in an endless loop of them running around in circles all day. But thanks to the tool, slightly changing the placement of settlements and hideouts resolved the issue. And that does seem like a pretty good tool for development. And with that, folks, that is all the news we have for Bannerlord currently. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful night or day. And make sure to keep that patience strong. We'll get there one day. Maybe. And farewell.